love you guys. Dance off, bro. I have the high ground. Expecto Patronum! 39 days. What people want. Survive.
On the Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Matt, Michael, and I are here for our first Survivor South Africa interview with Toni from Survivor South Africa, Philippines, and Survivor South Africa, Return of the Outcasts. Welcome, Toni, to the Tribe of Nerds.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've done one of these.
It's awesome. It's been a couple years since your last season as well, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No, this should be interesting. So, let's get right into it. So how did you get on the show the first time, and when did you start watching Survivor?
So, I started watching it when I was 19, 20. Let's just remind everybody, I am 45 years old now. I know. So, and my secret, I always say to people what my secret is for looking like this is that I drank a lot of tequila in my 20s. So I pickled myself. Nickname's actually Toni Tequila. So just a little word of advice for everybody. But yeah, I started watching Survivor when I was about 19, 20, the very first season. And I absolutely loved it. And my family and I, we was all into it. And it was just every Thursday night got together and watched it. I had a best friend back at the time called Lizelle, and she used to always say to me, Chicken, you should enter this way. If it ever comes to South Africa, you'd be so good at this. And it was just always something in the back of my head. Then South African iteration came out, and I kind of never was into it. I never really watched it. I can't even tell you which years for sure they were out. I really didn't pay attention back then. I had this moment of I wasn't into it anymore. And then when it came out in 2018, an ex-boyfriend of mine actually messaged me. I hadn't heard from him for ages. So shout out to Chris Kyriakidis, because he just out of the blue just messaged me and said, listen, I remember you're a massive Survivor fan. You used to always talk about it. Did you see that they are recruiting? Its applications are open. And I was like, oh, I did not know that at all. Let me check it out. And I was being annoying about it. And I'm not even joking. The day before the applications closed, I thought, let me just give it a bash. And I sent in a video. And that was it. I think I made the deadline by a few hours. I did this video, thought, what the hell? Whatever is meant to be is meant to be. And from what I hear, I could be wrong, but about 25,000 or so people entered, and they chose 18 of us. My first time that I'd applied. Done.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Clearly meant to be. They were like, this girl's crazy, because my application video was, just I was telling my husband a story about me driving and seeing this guy on the highway and phoning the person because they were selling the car, and then I kind of gave the person hell, and that was what my application video was about. So I think they just thought, okay, let's put on the show.
Wow.
So the game finally, did you have a follow-up on that, Matt? No?
Oh, no.
No. So the game starts, and you have 2 minutes to collect supplies before getting onto a raft and racing to the shore for rice. Did you have any strategy when it went into that challenge? And how did winning that bag of rice help you in Mindanao in the early days of the game?
Guys, let me tell you, just even getting onto that boat for that first episode was so wild, because we all got put into a hotel room for 5 days with no contact with people, So now you're on this boat and take off these goggles, and there's all these people, and I already started looking around. I'm like, okay, I can see supplies are sort of laid around here, and start chipsing the people and seeing who's there and hoping, who's going to be in your tribe. And I even remember seeing Tevin. So Tevin, before we had even been put onto our tribes yet, I spotted Tevin immediately. And PK, funny enough, it's so wild because I saw the tattoos, and I was like, these are people I want to kind of hang with because they got tattoos, and then they were on the same tribe as me. Definitely my Survivor brain kicked in when we started, because I thought there's going to be an advantage on this boat. That's the first thing that any true Survivor fan, that's the first thing that they're going to think about, is that. And it's interesting because the minute Nico said go, I didn't even care about an advantage. While I was sitting there, I thought, Tony, keep an eye out for advantage. But the minute it was like, go, all I thought about was, we need to work as a tribe, screw the advantage if there is one. Tribe, get that rice, go, because this is game time. This is where it's all going to start. And you also kind of know, I mean, I'm a very competitive person and I know myself if I lose.
Mhm.
I'm not a fun person. So I figured that that's going to be kind of the same theme for a lot of people. And I figured that having a win for the first challenge is going to set the tone for our tribe. And it actually ultimately did for a bit.
Mhm. Yeah, you guys won the first 4 challenges in a row?
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
And even the one that we kind of lost, that one where we were all hanging around on that pole and hug each other and falling off, it wasn't really a loss for us. We were just laughing about it, and it was for like bedding, and it didn't really mean much to us. So even that loss wasn't even much of a loss for us. So
Right.
we won when we actually needed to, because it did something for the morale of the tribe.
Mhm. Absolutely. Momentum carries you a long way.
And then remember, we threw that other challenge, which was
Right.
big mistake. Big mistake.
Going back to the start of the game, what were the early dynamics of the Mindanao tribe like, especially with so many different personalities?
So, I mean, TV gold is Martinez. I think we can all agree that he is TV gold. Everybody wants to see a Martinez on an episode of Survivor. So the first day was interesting because you've got somebody like Jean who doesn't gel well with a Martinez kind of vibe. And I could immediately tell that she was just like not having it. But then you've got the PKs and the Tebbutt who think it's hilarious. And they were just like laughing about it. And that's why I gravitated a lot to them, because they just seemed so much more lighthearted about situations that we found ourselves in. So first day was, dynamic wise, it was super fun. I thought like everybody was amazing. I had literally no issue with anybody, not even the Martinez. I loved everybody. I think I only started really disliking everyone disliking some people by day 3 or 4. But the first few days was just very kumbaya and lots of fun, and it was just Martinez that was pretty much rubbing people up the wrong way.
Shocking. Shocking to hear that.
Imagine that.
Well, on Martinez, like, any more thoughts on Martinez, and especially during that first tribal, where he mistook Werner's like decision to try to like bluff the idol and everything?
You know? So yeah, I have such a soft spot for the man. I won't lie. Even though we came to blows the next day after that tribal, he really had just wound me up a little bit, because I was just like, actually, how like dumb are you? And I mean, I remember saying like, listen, Martinez, this is Survivor, it's not Wipeout. Like this, we're playing a different game here. So I do have a soft spot for him, but I do think it was time that tribe swap actually happened in time, because I needed to be separated from him.
Mhm.
It wasn't going to go down well if I stayed with him.
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
the
Martinez.
the next part is when you decide to throw the challenge to get rid of Martinez, but only for Stacey Lee to decide she no longer wants to be in the game. So what went into the decision to throw, and what happened when you decided?
We remember we told Stacey and Jean it was to get rid of Martinez, but actually we wanted to get rid of Jean.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
look how that blew up in our face, because she came second. Hello, like we
Yeah, should have followed through.
honestly, to this day, when Tevin, myself, PK, and Marishka, we still talk about that tribal council. That is the one tribal council we always come back to, and we say we should have stuck to the plan and just got rid of Jean. If Stacey wanted to quit, she can quit, but we should have stuck to what we originally planned and get rid of Jean.
Yeah, it would have changed everything.
Yeah.
You know what? You can play this game 100 times with the same people, and you're always going to have a different outcome. So, but it would have made, I think there would have been some drastic changes. Firstly, Martinez probably would have been quite different, because he would have seen that, yes, dude, we had a plan, we stuck to it, and I think that is what swayed him, what irritated him a little bit, is that we did have a plan, and it was to get rid of Jean.
Mhm.
So I think if we had done that, it would have probably placated him a little bit. And then it would have definitely changed the dynamics, because Jean managed to squirrel her way to the end at the end of it all,
Right, exactly.
Speaking of Jean, so the first tribe swap happens, and you are put with Werner and Jean against Ace and Josie. How did this help your game, and what were your thoughts on Ace, especially when he was digging a massive trench in the middle of camp?
See, now we're going back to another part where I have big regrets because I should have played with Ace and Josie. I loved them. I absolutely loved them. I loved their energy, their dynamic. The two of them had a very nice unit, which I really enjoyed watching. So yeah, him digging was very weird to me. Like to this day, I'm like, why did I not realize what he was doing? Like, how did none of us realize what was actually going on? Him saying that he was busy digging a tunnel for warmth. Like, I bought it. I don't know why I bought it, but I did. I mean, I'm not that stupid, but I actually bought it. But yeah, listen, those were some beautiful days. Winning that challenge and winning that island was amazing. But I will tell you the truth, Jean drove me crazy. Like, her and I just were not getting along. And that's why I say I wish I had just stopped being Mindanao strong. We were still going on that Mindanao strong thing. And I just should have, I mean, why I chose to break Mindanao strong with Tevin, of all people, when I had the opportunity to break Mindanao strong with Jean. The problem was, and I mean, I did go through the thought processes in my head is get rid of Jean, and then there's a 2 against 2. So what if we go to tribal again? Werner's got an idol, So then we maybe have a tie or 2 against 2 again. Toni maybe goes home because I don't have the idol. I didn't know that there's going to be that nice little twist where you get voted, but you get put into the other tribe. But so there's all these things that do go through your head. And I do believe that is actually where a lot of my game changed, is when Josie took me to the new Mindanao. Because I lost my foothold with the Werner and the Katinkas and the Jeans. And that was ultimately what changed like, I don't know, my grip on the game.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the idols, so this is also where Werner finds his second idol in the game. So what was your reaction to seeing Werner find his second idol, and what made you tell PK about it?
I was actually pissed with Werner because what had happened was him and I alone, he came to me and said, Toni, there's a little map there saying that there's an idol here. And he showed me. He said, let's not tell anybody, but please go and distract Josie and them, and I want to dig for it. The plan was he was going to dig for it and it would be our idol as long as I distracted Josie and Jean. So I took the girls down to the beach and I was distracting them, but Jean came back. And then he still went and got it and he showed her, and I was like, bro, like that wasn't the plan. The plan was it was our idol and you're not going to tell Jean and I'm going to distract them. And that's what I did. I distracted them for him to go and dig for it. So I was a bit irritated with it. So when but it wasn't a big deal at the time. And when I went into Mindanao 2.0 and PK took me aside and shared with me that he was a bit worried about Tevin and, where he was standing and how he was feeling, I was worried too about my place in the game now because there's only 4 people. I've got Tevin, I've got PK, I've got Josie, who Tevin seems to be like all googly eyed for, and then I've got myself. So I 100% needed PK on my side. And the only way that I could assure that would happen is by giving him information. Information is currency out there. And I figured if I told him that thing, he would know that I genuinely am wanting to play with him, and he would like start swaying towards me as opposed to Tevin.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So both Mindanao and Luzon go to the double tribal council, but before we even get into the non-elimination twist, Martinez decides that he wants to leave the game. So what were your thoughts when he picks up his torch and leaves?
I mean, I actually was looking at him and mouthing like, don't, because I didn't want him to leave like that, I don't know. I didn't want to see that happen in the game. It's annoying to see people quit Survivor.
Yeah.
And yet now that I've played it twice, I get it. I totally get why people do it. But at the time, I was just like, don't leave like this. I just figured, bro, this is not going to work out in your favor. But deep down, I kind of figured they were probably going to vote him out anyway. In my head, I was like, he's going anyway. So I was just worried that he was going to quit and somebody would still get voted out. And I was not wrong because it kind of still went that way.
Mm-hmm. Right. It
Yeah,
just
so
turned
then
out.
yes, so then Josie is voted out and you get dragged over to the other tribe, which is a huge alteration to your game. So what were your thoughts when that
Yeah.
happened?
When she was told to take somebody, I kept looking at her and pointing with my eyes at Jean because I knew, because I loved Josie. Josie and I had become very tight. Like, I absolutely loved her. And I knew that she stood a better chance with Jean on that tribe than she did with me on that tribe because I could see how we pan out. She takes Jean there. Tevin and PK wanted Jean gone already. So they would have just, it would have been an easy vote for them if they'd lost. They would have taken Jean out. And then she could figure it out from there. And if she had to leave, then she leaves. But maybe they could win challenges, or maybe we throw a challenge, or she gets saved, or whatever. I just was trying to get it to rather take Jean. And it's interesting now because I know that changed my game big time. It changed the dynamic of my game. But guys, guess what? That is the one part of the game that I would never want to change because the experience that I had on Mindanao 2.0, I carry with me every single day. It makes me so emotional when I think about what I went through there. I went through the worst of the worst on that island, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so glad I got to experience that. It was something else. I think PK and I experienced a hardship that all the other players didn't necessarily experience. And although that changed my game, that experience changed me. So kind of glad it happened.
Yeah, you got to take the rough with the smooth, and it's all part of the experience. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, we had so much fun on Mindanao 2.0, but it was a terrible island. Oh, it was a terrible island. We had a lot of fun when Josie, myself, PK, and Tevin were there. We had a good time, and then it just got really, really bad. And, you know, even watching the episode back, that day that I knew that episode was going to show where PK and I were really broken, I started crying. I was like remembering it, and it took me back to that really dark place because we were really in a dark place. And I remember even people who loved me, when they watched that episode, they reached out. My husband, my ex-husband now, but my husband like hugged me, and he was so sad to see me in that state because people who love you, they don't want to see you like that. Everyone else who was watching is like, oh, they're crying, you know. It's like a whatever to them. So yeah, it was really, really rough. And it's still one of my favorite experiences, actually, is that roughness.
Amazing. So one big thing that happened was you and PK decided to turn on Tevin. It's one of the first big moments of Philippines. So can you walk us through that blindside?
So look, that was very, very hard. Obviously, if there was something I could do different, it was then, actually. And I'll tell you what I would have loved to do different, and you probably would be like, damn, that would have been great TV, or great play. In my head, it made perfect sense to get rid of one of the boys because I had Josie. So there's 4 of us now. If I get rid of Josie, these 2 boys have been connecting. They are bros, you know. So then it's just going to be the 3 of us, which is all well and great. But if we lost, in my head, I was like, if we lose a challenge, these guys are going to vote me out. Mm-hmm. So it made no sense for me to get rid of my number. And so when PK put Tevin on the board, I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Okay, let's do it. But in my head, when I was going to Mindanao 2.0 and I was sitting next to Josie, I thought, how am I going to do this that I get to keep a number? Because these 2 guys have become tight. Mm-hmm. So it made perfect sense for my game. Everybody has bashed me about the decision, but it like, what was I going to do? Like, I'm going to get rid of Josie and then I'm the next one to go. You know, I just I wasn't prepared to take that risk. Had I done something differently now, and I've tried and replayed this in my head, what I should have done is I still should have got rid of Josie. I should have got Josie to write PK's name. Tevin to write Josie. I write Josie. PK writes Tevin. Josie goes. Then I just say to Tevin, listen, PK had a moment, or I could lie and make it was Josie that wanted to throw PK or Tevin. And then I've got them both on my side because kind of maybe Tevin's a bit pissed off with PK's a bit, you know, and I could have just played it a little bit differently in terms of manipulating the boys.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I speak for all of us when I say that, like, blew all of our minds when we were all just like,
yeah.
That would have been amazing. Yeah.
I should have had tribal council looked at Josie and said, right, PK, and she would have done it 100%. And then she would have had PK's name down, myself and Tev write down. I could have even lied. I could have even said to Tevin, listen, you know, you and PK wrote Josie, well done, you guys, but I couldn't write her name down. And sorry, Tev, I wrote your name down because I knew you were going to be safe. I felt bad for Josie to get all the things. Boo, boo. Means keep both of them sort of on a short leash.
Damn, that would have been great TV. So too
Yeah.
bad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Would have loved watching
Would have
that.
been a genius move.
It
But
would
the
have.
things that you think about afterwards,
Yeah.
there's so many of these little iterations. I'm like, damn it, I should have done
Right.
that. And I mean, one of you, who's Shaunae's favorite here? You said, who did you
Michael.
say?
Michael.
Okay, Michael. So yeah, you love Shaunay. And that was one of my other biggest regrets. We'll get there a little bit later, but one of my other biggest regrets is the night that Shaunay went, because I ultimately did that. And I think I could have changed the game there too.
Yeah, I was sad about that too. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
I was
okay.
sad too, but I'll explain to you what happened with Shaunay. Let's get there.
So at the challenge, after you vote out Tevin, Werner tells you keep Blue strong, and then what all went into voting out Josie that following round. You talked about it a little bit there, but walk us through anything else that happened with that.
You see, now Josie also dug her own grave, because when we voted Tevin out, that whole day before that, we had decided to vote Tevin out, and then suddenly she came to me and Pika and she said, maybe that we should get rid of her because she's got a business at home and she's actually starting to worry about her business and she's thinking maybe it's time to go home. So we were like, oh my word, she's thrown, like, now we had this plan and now she's changing it. And then that's why you saw the confusion at Tribal, where like Pico's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because Josie then changed her mind again, said, okay, no, I'm in. So we're like, oh, okay, we're back in now. So she actually almost bailed, but then she wanted to stay. Then now it's the three of us. And then she was saying to me, she says, well, now that I'm here, Toni, like, you guys must think about whether to let me go or not. But because if I'm going to make merge, I have to win, because I can't leave my business. So I'm going to win. I'm going to make sure I win. And I was like, damn. She's like quite adamant that if she gets to merge, she is going to do what it takes to win. And that kind of scared me. I was like, I don't know if I'm prepared to take this risk now, you know. But she was still half foot out the door, but saying that if she stays in the game, she's going balls in. I mean, we were all going to go balls in anyway, but just she seemed quite vocal about it. And I thought to myself, she's got people there. She's got the Vusi, she's got the Palesa, she's got, you know, she could get her foot in the door there, and she's beautiful and she's engaging and lovely. So this might be quite dangerous. So I just figured that PK, and also I just loved PK so much. There's just some, and still to this day, PK and I just have some kind of a connection. He's my brother, you know, and when it came down to it, it was just never going to be there was a no-brainer between him and Josie eventually, and it was always going to be PK.
So you survive this hellish swap tribe, and you and PK have an emotional moment where you finally make the merge. So how was it to actually get to the merge as a fan, and also everything that you had to go through to get there?
Oh man, I just get goosebumps actually just remembering it. It was so exciting. And I remember when we got the piece of paper, because it came quite late because there were torrential storms that day. So they actually were going to maybe delay the filming of merge that day, because they were the Coast Guard said no boats are allowed out. So we couldn't get to the reward, or we couldn't get to the merge. So the morning we go, we check there's no tree mail, and I think, oh my word, we've got another day, the two of us on this island with no food, ruddy tummies, blah, 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 you know, like, I can't believe this is happening. And I just lost all hope. I was like, I can't do another day. Cannot do another day out here. And Peek and I were just sitting there. And then the guy said, why don't you go just do something? We need to film. Like, we need something. You need to do something. And I was like, I had nothing in me. I can't. And that's when I had that breakdown where I'm like, I can't go fishing. I go, oh, no, like crying. And then again, production was like, just go walk to the water well, look at tree mail again. And then we were like, no, we're not doing this. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, I have no energy. And they were like insistent. It's like, oh, fuck, we must give them something. So off we go, back to the water well, open up. And I'm like, oh shit, there's actually something in there. So pulled it out, and I just remember us both falling to our knees and holding each other and just crying because it was like, we're going to have more humans around us. We're going to have people that we can connect with again. The food, we just knew there was a merge feast. And I remember PK even saying to me, Toni, I've never cried out of happiness in my life before. You are now the first person I've ever cried happy tears with. And it was like a sweet moment. Listen, those waves were still hectic. It was like this to get to that merge meal. And I was just holding onto this boat thinking, I actually might die. I might actually die looking like this with no food in my belly. Like, this is it. It's over. I was super excited. And yeah, connecting with everybody else, it was very surreal. And PK and I even said, when we get to the meal, we mustn't sit next to each other. We must go and sit with somebody else and we must start connecting again. The minute we sat down, we sat next to each other because we just still had this little trauma bond between us. We didn't want to let go yet. And I remember sitting next to him and saying, we were supposed to sit with other people. I'm just not ready. And he said, yeah, I'm not ready either yet. Because it was just a lot. There was just a lot going on all of a sudden. You're alone on this island, and then suddenly there's all these people, and they're all so loud, and they're all talking, and they're all excited, and it just felt like a lot.
Wow. One question I have before I get to my next one. What was that merge feast like, especially because you got Jen later back at camp? And I just always find that interesting when they give you like a whole bottle of alcohol.
Yeah, that was great. And we tasted like, what is this? Is it because you haven't had alcohol for a while, but it isn't as much as you think it was. I didn't even feel slightly pissed or anything, so it's not as much as you think it is. But the merge meal itself, you are ready to attack. Like, you just want to go and go, but you can't. Like, you actually really can't eat that much because your stomach is not used to it. So you would think you're going to go full on, but you eat not even a fifth of what you usually eat anyway. But it was amazing. It was cold, but it was amazing.
Speaking of amazing, you win the first individual immunity challenge. What was that like to win, especially since it is a iconic challenge?
Yeah, that's also next level. And even watching that episode, because that episode starts where I'm in my lowest of lows and it ends where I'm at my highest of highs, and I think that just goes to show it's like a lesson for human beings. Like, you're never low. Like, you're never at the bottom. There's always opportunity to rise like a little phoenix. But winning, like, let's face it, anybody who's ever loved Survivor or ever's going to play Survivor, winning immunity is big. Like, you want that. So to win the first immunity was just, I actually can't describe it. To this day, I still think it's one of the best experiences of my life. And it was such a cool challenge too. And it was hard. Like, I watched it on the TV and I thought, no, I can't. Like, how hard can it really be? It's like 45 minutes of standing on these little things like this, your legs, the inside of your thighs. Like, myself and Shanae the next day, our thighs were killing us.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that doesn't come across on the TV as much when you're watching it either. Because yeah, it looks fun, honestly.
And it's usually like 2, maybe 3, 4 minutes of it. Meantime, we 45 minutes. Like, it's just this like laser focus of like, okay, just hang in there. And sometimes I think what really helped me is I took my glasses off and I couldn't see because he's shit. So I was just like, oh well, I'm just blind, and I feel like that kind of made me focus just on a spot in the water that I could see. I was like, okay, I'll just stand here like this now.
Well, so the first merge tribal of the season, this is where you and PK are told to vote for Palessa, but it ends up being Vusi instead. So walk us through what happened with that and from your perspective.
We knew it was going to be Vusi, but the agreement was just that we throw some votes to Palessa. But okay, so here, Michael, your little Shanae, this is where Shanae done fucked up, excuse my language. I was actually really seriously considering flipping and playing with Palessa, Vusi, and Shanae. I knew that they were okay to go to rocks because they'd done it before. But I had an immunity necklace. So I was like, if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. I'd be safe either way. So my brain, and I mean, they obviously don't show this in the edit because of the fact that it didn't make the story. It wasn't part of the story. It didn't change anything. So I was seriously considering playing with him because PK really wanted to play with him. And he spoke to me and he said, listen, Shanae is amazing. She really is cool. And she really is cool. Her and I got along so well. And they were saying they were going to vote Jean. That was who they were going to vote. And then it changed and they decided to vote Katinka. But no one told me except PK came and told me. PK said, listen, they've decided they're going to that they're going to do Katinka. And I said, are you sure? They're not messing with us or anything. But I wasn't concerned. I have immunity. Like, it really doesn't matter to me whose name gets thrown out there. Whatever, let's do something. And then he said, no, it's changed to Katinka. I said, okay, cool. Shanae and I walked down to the beach to go and get dressed for travel. So I put like some warm up clothes on. And I turned to her and I said, who are we voting tonight? And she said, Jean. And because she wasn't sure she could trust me yet. And when she did that, I said, I can't play with these people. She gave me the wrong name. And you look at your face, Jake, you're like, yeah. And I was really serious. I looked at her, I said, okay, so who's the vote? And she said, Jean. And I said, are you sure? She said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, well, I need to stick with the other tribe because this person just lied to me.
That's crazy, because if you five had banded together, like, you would have all made it past like where you all ended up going out in a row.
And I don't know what she was thinking in terms of like not trusting me, because what did she think? Maybe did she think maybe I was going to go look, she maybe thought I was going to go tell them and then they're going to play an idol on the person or whatever. But myself, PK and her had sat on the beach and we said, cool, let's work with trust. And then when PK told me the name change and I went to her, she told me Jean still. And I was like, oh, well, there we go. Can't play with you.
Oops.
Yeah, you tried.
Just the smallest thing can change so much, you know?
Yeah, so then we get into the craziest tribal council of the season where 3 immunity idols are played. Your one vote for Shanae ties the vote with Tom, and Shanae goes in a re-vote. So how was that crazy tribal council for you?
Hey, I'm going to bull your minds again here. The day before, I was very pissed off with Tom about something because, okay, I'll tell you why. Now, as you know, I was very attached to Mariska, so Muri and I were very close. And then Palesa had told me about things how Tom had treated Mariska and about how he called her the weak link and and I was like, what? And I was pissed off. I was so angry. I was like, what a bully. I don't like that. I don't like that he treated Mariska like that. No. I was really angry. And then I said so I was sitting with Annalise and Van on the beach, and I said, I'm really irritated about hearing how Tom treated Mariska. I think no one should treat anybody like that. And I said, I'm going to write Tom's name down. And they said, what? I said, I know it's not going to matter, but I'm going to write Tom's name down at the next tribal council because I just feel like that is just just for me to stand up for Mariska. I'm going to write Tom's name down tomorrow. And they said, it's fine. That's fine. You can do it, because they already in their head were planning to vote out PK, remember? So they thought it wasn't going to matter. It would have mattered. Mattered.
Yeah.
If I wrote Tom's name down, he went home.
Yeah.
And it would have changed so much. But what had happened is in between that time, I then sat and I spoke to Tom, and him and I got along so well. And then I asked him like stuff about his upbringing, and there was a lot of commonality between trauma that him and I had experienced in our younger days. You know, like we had a lot in common. And then I flipped my mind and I was like, oh, shame, he's not that bad. And I never wrote his name down. But I told Annalise and them that I was writing his name down and I was going to write his name down, and I changed my mind.
Oh, that would have changed so
Yeah, and I mean, if that
much.
happens, then Shanae is going to be forced into trusting you after that if you save her life in the game. So that could have changed everything.
And then her and I had already gotten to a point where we were really connecting. But, you know, she knew her time was coming up. And look, I also feel a little bit irritated with Palesa at the time too, because Palesa knew, we told her it was Vusi. We told her that first vote was going to be Vusi. She had an idol. What Palesa could have really done a lot of changes in that game, and she could have played that idol for Vusi. And Vusi would have been in and Katinka would have been out at that very first tribal. And that first tribal could have changed a lot of things. And to this day, I don't know why Palesa just never did that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Palesa, some of the decisions that she made in the last couple tribals definitely had me like yelling at my computer screen.
You could have done so much with that game, and she missed the mark. And I just think especially that one, because she didn't play it on herself anyway, so she knew for a fact it was Vusi. I just don't know why she didn't play that idol on him. It would have been so cool.
Well, speaking about her and maybe not playing idols at the next tribal, she goes. So what all went into that vote, and at what point did you find out she left with an idol?
I didn't know until I went to Ponderosa. Yeah, I found out in Ponderosa. So none of us actually knew that she had an idol. And again, like, damn, Palisa, she wasn't very open or communicative. She was quite a difficult person to play with. It was like trying to pull teeth. And I remember when the night she went, I sat with her and PK and I said, shit, I wish we could change this game. We are sitting ducks. Like, I wish we could do something with this game. And then Palesa said to me, her and I were chatting, and she said, Toni, if you get to the end, or no, if you are still in this game, are you going to promise me you're going to try and make a move on Werner? Promise me, like, you'll get my vote at the end if you do that. And I said, Palesa, I want to do something with this game, but I just feel my hands are tied. Just don't know what to do. And then I went and I spoke to Tom again. They didn't show this conversation, but I was begging Tom. I said, Tom, let's change the game up. Let's get everyone to split their votes between like PK and Palesa, and then you, me, PK, Palesa vote for somebody else. And then Tom said, Toni, I can't do that. He was very honest with me. He said, I can't do that. I've really shook on a final three with Katinka and Werner, and I can't go back on that shake. And I was like, damn. Again, I don't share that information with anybody else like an idiot because I'm trying to show some loyalty to Tom. I don't know why I did that. I should run with that information to like Annalise or something. Oh, I did go to Annalise. I did try and say to Annalise, maybe we can change the game. Annalise, her response always, whenever you wanted to do something, she said, oh, it's too soon. I need more time to think about that. It's too, no, we need to think. So, like, you could do nothing with these people. But with Palesa, like, I just wish at that moment she had said to me, well, I have an idol. Because I would have been like, well, then fuck, play it. Because then we'll get all the votes on you. Just play your idol. But she wasn't communicating. And I don't know why the hell she didn't play it. Why was she thinking Tom was going to be honest with her? Oh.
Nobody knows watching either. So then let's get to your boot episode, and this is where Tom ends up sending you and Annalise to Exile Island, and you get the extra vote, and Annalise said that she would give it to you. Did you think Annalise was going to turn on you instantly, or do you think she was actually wanting to keep you around at first?
And I mean, still to this day, she said she did definitely want to play with me, but she just got a shock when she got there and she got told what to do and she did it. And again, very frustrating because we were on Exile Island and I was like, Anna, we can do something now with this. Like, it's going to be too late if we get, because she was saying was PK next. And I was like, if PK goes, we're going to be down in numbers. Even this one vote isn't going to help us. We can do something now. Like, we can actually get to tribe and I can whisper something to PK and then it's PK, you, me, extra vote. We can try and do something. And she was like, it's too soon. I need to sleep on it. I need to think on it. And I was like, this isn't either. You don't have months. Like, you've got to make decisions on the fly, and it was just so unfortunate that we went directly to tribal, because I think if we had been able to all get back together, I definitely think there was something I could have done with that extra vote, but there was nothing I could do. Like, we went to tribal straight away. So, what can you do?
Right.
So did you know that the vote was going to be on you during your exit, or did you think it was going to be on somebody else?
I thought it was PK. It was always, I knew that the pecking order was going to be Palesa, PK, then possibly me, that was how I was already envisioning it. So I just thought they would stick with the PK thing that night. And I thought at least I can have some kind of something, and I felt I was really feeling quite badly for Katinka because she kept missing out on like going for food and stuff like that. So I'd even snuck an apple into my bag because I thought it's cool. If PK goes, we get back to tribe, I'm going to say, hey, Katinka, sorry that thing's been rough for you, but I stuck you an apple. And I was going to really try and like worm my way into people's hearts and then plus have this extra vote. And I was like thinking, this is all I got at the moment is this extra vote and a freaking apple. Try and do something with it. And unfortunately, it just was the night that I left. So,
yeah. And then you call Werner a snake on your way out.
Yeah.
Listen, I was actually way more explicitive. So they edited me very well because I didn't just say snake. There was a lot of beep,
Do you
beep,
want
beep
to?
in between.
I was going to say, do you want to recreate it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you are a fucking snake. A snake. You free. And then I walked on, don't tell people to trust him. And I was like, I was pissed with him. But I was really pissed with him for a few, like a little, I got caught in a love triangle between Werner and PK. That's what I felt like. I was stuck in this love triangle with two people who wanted to play with me, but not with each other. And they didn't want to hear my side, or maybe I was trying to get my way because it would work in my favor to have everybody, all three of us playing together. But it was quite frustrating because I was caught in this love triangle and then I was the first one to go out of this love triangle, you know?
Right.
So you end up on the jury, which means you have your say in who wins. Maybe not the final two I think people were hoping for. What were your thoughts on Tom and John at the final two?
That was really not the final two that anybody was hoping for. And then Werner, that guy, he comes now to Ponderosa, and we're all sitting at breakfast, and he's like, "How did this happen, guys? How did we get these final two?" And I'm like, "You did this, bro. That's why we are here." But he was like, "Yo, guys, how did we get this final two, eh?" And I'm like, because you kind of helped these guys get to where they are, Werner. This is your fault." Oh, none of us wanted that final two. That's the truth of it. None of us really expected it at all, because it's quite bizarre that two of the people who were the first people to supposedly go out of the game, think about it, Jean from Mindanao, and then the final two.
Right. That it's so nuts.
Yeah.
You couldn't have scripted that even if you tried.
Yeah.
So just hypothetically, obviously you had strong feelings about Werner. He played a very strong game. If Werner had made it versus either Tom or Jean, would you have voted for Werner in that instance?
I definitely still would have voted for him. I had a hell of a sweet spot for him anyway, so he was going to get my vote. I was devastated, absolutely devastated for him that he was removed from the jury, because even though I had my feelings about him, I just thought that was the lowest of blows, that somebody that loves the game so much I missed out on, and that really broke my heart. And John actually, she shot herself in the foot because he was actually advocating for her, and then she got rid of him.
Yeah, that was a really bad move for the audience watching as well. Like,
and John also doesn't read the room properly, because I was like, damn, she's going to remove me. I was for sure, because her and I were just not getting along. Like, I for sure thought she was going to remove myself or PK. So when she removed Werner, I looked at her and I said, so afterwards, when I mentioned to her at Final Tribal Council that she removed Werner, she said, "Oh, Toni, you thanked me for that." And I was like, "No, I thanked you for not removing me." That's what I was thanking her for. I was thanking her for removing Werner. I was thanking her that she didn't remove me, because I would have been really upset to miss out on that.
Yeah. I don't really like jury removal as a twist at all. So
I think it's super unfair. I think everybody that just plays so hard and gets to that point deserves to get to write a final vote, you know?
And so rarely in Survivor is it like a one vote thing where it's really going to change the game all that much to lose one jury member. So yeah, it just seems needlessly cruel to the jury.
So cool, so cool.
So you do end up voting for Tom. So what went into that?
Listen, the minute that it was the two of them at the end, I was Tom's advocate from the go. Even at Ponderosa, because a lot of people were not wanting to vote for him. And I literally went and spoke, and I was like, guys, come on, let's be realistic here. Like, Tom has had it harder than John, and he works harder. So game-wise, he's had to squirrel himself around, like he was often on the bottom of alliances. He was irritating people. He was on the forefront of their lips to get rid of, and he still managed to keep it together. He still stayed in the game. He fished. He worked around the camp. He really was a very hard worker. He suffered also on that horrible first island, and I just felt like he encompassed Survivor a little bit more than Jean, who, and I'm going to say it, she didn't do a lot. She sat at camp most of the time, and she didn't fish. She didn't she cooked for us, and so she did that. But I just felt like, and she had an easy ride. She was in Mindanao, that did really well, and then from Mindanao she came on to, the new Luzon, where we got the new Iden, and she got to live there for a while, and then she got to come to Merge, and she got to be on a bit of more of a holiday, whereas Tom didn't have those privileges. So I just truly believe that out of the two of them, listen, even if Tom sat next to Annalise, I was still going to root for Tom also and advocate for him, because I felt like he's played a stronger game than Annalise also.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, and I'll give Tom credit as well. I said it on our podcast that when we reviewed your season of I feel like comparatively between the two, I feel like Tom did more to save himself from being the first boot of his tribe than Jean did on Mindanao.
He got lucky, and her speech, she wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong what she said in her speech about how she got lucky.
Yeah.
But this isn't Uno, it's not about being lucky.
So that ends your time on Philippines, but you get invited back for Return of the Outcasts. I've talked with Dino, Marion, and Phil, and they said that production kept a very tight lid on who was going to be on the season and who wasn't. So my question is, did you know anyone else that was going to be on the season? And if so, did you have any pregame alliances?
So I suspected. It was actually quite funny because Dino and I, like a few days after they asked us to play, Dino and I met for lunch with my boyfriend. We watched the rugby together, whatever. And both of us were just like, damn, I wonder who's playing. Boo, boo. Saying anything to each other. But then Dino had bought something online, I don't know. And then somebody messaged me on Instagram and said, yeah, Dino's playing. I see he's bought this. And I was like, what? So I messaged Dino and I said, listen, somebody's messaging me this on Instagram, and just be careful because I don't know who else he's telling this to. And then Dino admitted to me that he was playing because of the stuff bust. And I was like, okay, cool. Don't want to talk. We both know we're playing. That's it. We don't talk about it. And we didn't. We 100% did not even speak about it again.
Mm-hmm.
Tevin, I knew was going to be called back. I mean, come on. Tevin was for sure. Even after, look, there was some controversy around him after the first season, but I knew he was going to come back because he's a great player. So I suspected him. And then he got drunk one night and he phoned me. Hey, Toni, don't vote me out, okay? Don't vote me out. Okay, don't do that to me again. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know. What are you on about? Are you going back to play? And he was like, yeah, I know you're going to go back. They're going to definitely, you got an invite, but don't fuck me again. And I was like, okay, don't worry, I won't do it again. And that was like the one conversation we had, like this really drunken conversation. So he kind of, exposed himself in this little thing. And then, of course, I suspected people, but I didn't know for a fact anybody else. I didn't speak to anybody, nothing.
So then when you get to the
now, because they can all say what they want, but they pre-gamed. Don't believe everything that these people say you see.
So you get to the match. Was there anyone you were surprised was there, and was there anyone you were surprised wasn't there?
Let me think. I was not surprised. I was sad that Sean wasn't there because I imagined a little survivor romance, So, because he's a hardie. So he's like one of us. So he was my survivor crush, is old Sean. So I was kind of sad that he wasn't there. But I was surprised Chappies was there. I felt like it was too soon for Chappies to be back. And I didn't think it was the right time for him. And yet, by the same token, I was surprised not to see Toni there. So, and who I was really sad and surprised not to see was Jason, the first boot, because I thought it would have been great to have Jason back. And if I'm honest, I honestly thought that they should have put him on instead of Dino at the time. And I know that sounds terrible because look what's happened, But when I looked at the mat and I saw Dino, I thought, okay, well, that's cool, but Jason might have been more impactful in a way, because Jason's like just so, I love him. He's so great. And he didn't really get to shine the way he truly can.
Mm-hmm.
So, but otherwise, yeah. Oh, and I was surprised to see Panty. Yeah, that was a surprise.
Same.
I think a lot of people were surprised.
Right? And even Felix. I was super surprised to see Felix. Like, I didn't expect like Panty and Felix, like, but then I think to myself, I think, okay, but who then would I have imagined instead of them? And I can't really think of anybody else really.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, there are some great players like the Anesus and the Santuanis and Kieran's and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, and of course, I was very surprised not to see Werner.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I think everybody was. But I also wasn't, because think about what it's called, the return of the outcast. Werner wasn't an outcast. He always sort of had,
True.
you know, these people,
Yeah.
a lot of the people that, like, that's the thing, they weren't outcasts. And I think that's what the theme was. It wasn't about how well you played. It wasn't a fan favorite. It wasn't a return of the best. It was a return of the people who were ultimately feeling a little bit outcast and pushed out or whatever. So it kind of made sense. Like, why would Werner be there? He was not an outcast.
Right.
Good
Right.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything like you wanted to change a second time, or like any prep you did differently for the second time?
No, I thought I was going to be way more in tune with my emotions and a little bit more okay with my emotions, because I have done a lot of, like, I've changed a lot since my first season. I've been through a divorce. I've started my own business. I've moved
Mhm.
to Cape Town. I got new teeth. I got new hair. Like, there's a lot that's changed, and I really thought that I was going to just be a much more positive light. But unfortunately, within the first 3 days, things took a drastic turn, and it wasn't fun and it wasn't nice. And look, there's a lot of contributing factors to it. Is one, don't know if you know this, but I literally was cleared of COVID like 2 or so days before the game started. So I was still recovering from COVID. I was feeling quite emotional. I was on my period, so I was all emotional. I'm just going to put it out there. I was hormonal. And then, of course, the thing of losing PK and then Dante coming and it was just a lot in the first 3 days. And it made the game, the first like week or two of that game, very unpleasant for me.
Mhm.
So, how chaotic was the tribal council where both tribes are at tribal and Palesa ends up getting voted out?
So upset. I was so upset. And Dino misunderstood something that was going on there, because I was looking at him going, and I was pointing at Palesa, because I was trying to tell him to give her the idol. That was actually what I wanted him to do, because, Tajan and I had given them that idol, and I had a feeling, come on, like, we're going to be merging soon. So I was going, but I should have gone idol, but I didn't do that. So he thought, okay, now I'm saying, yo, let's all just vote Palesa. But imagine he could have just given her the idol,
Mhm.
and then a Shane or a Meryl would have left. And again, it could have changed the trajectory of the game all over again. And did you notice, interestingly
Palesa
enough,
and
in
Idols.
Philippines, Palesa left and then I left.
Yeah.
In Return of the Outcasts, Palesa left and then I left.
Yeah.
So I always leave straight after Palesa.
So if you play a third time, hopefully she won't be there, because then when your
Yes.
exit is.
She's my bad luck charm. She must, in the next time, if we play together, she must come second, because then I'm going to come
make
first.
a final two with her. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yes. And you know what? It's actually quite interesting, because the first time, Palesa, like I say, I really struggled to communicate with her and play with her. The second season, we were, oh my word, I loved her. Like, her and I really, we've become such good friends from this last season. We were really close.
Mhm. Yeah, and how did it feel making the merge a second time, especially in an all-star season?
I wasn't that excited.
Oh.
I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, I wasn't that excited. I hoped for like one more tribal. I hoped for
Mhm.
one more like of us, because I really enjoyed Masu 2.0. I was able to be myself.
Mhm.
Masu 1.0, being around Marion, Meryl, Dante, Shane was very difficult for me. They ostracized me a lot, and then the theme was that you can't really talk to Toni. And even Steffi admits, like, she just stayed away because Toni's like the baddie. And once we're in Master 2.0, even Steffi was like, look, Toni, you're so much fun, you're so cool. And she really got to see me. And I didn't want to be around them yet. I wasn't ready to be with those people yet. And I was just hoping for one more challenge where maybe we could win again, and then maybe one of them could finally go, and then we could. I just wasn't ready for merge yet. I wasn't ready to be around the energy yet.
Mhm.
So I wasn't as excited as I probably should be. And that maybe sounds a little bit ungrateful, because you should ultimately be grateful to make merge. And I was proud that I'd gotten to that, but I just knew that this wasn't going to pan out the way I was hoping. I could feel the energy already.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the merge, you are the first one to go. Did you know that was going to happen, or was there anything you could have done?
You know what? I wanted so badly to believe that everybody was going to get rid of Dante. Like, I wanted so badly to believe that, because that was what they were saying to me, and then he went anyway, straight after me. So obviously it was what they wanted. But it was the strangest thing, Matt. That morning I woke up and I was just not feeling welcome. I felt I couldn't be myself, If I laughed, then Dante and Marion and them roll their eyeballs at me, like if I talk too loud, then I'm like, everyone like looks at me all funny. Dino even said he didn't feel like he could come and talk to me, because then they'll look at him funny. So I kind of felt quite alone out there. And I woke up that morning and I was like, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to fight this. And I was like, Then we went to the challenge and we had to just wait for them to set up the challenge a bit more. So we were all just sitting on our own. And I remember lying there and in the sun, and I was like, Lord, if I'm not going to win this, please remove me now, because I don't want to be, I prayed and I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here anymore. I feel like the game is going to go somewhere where I don't want to go personally. And if that is the way it's going to be, I must leave. And it was the weirdest thing. I actually prayed on it. And then that night when I got voted out, obviously I was upset and hurt, but they did not show how I actually left, which is quite sad. I felt very, very done in when I watched that episode, because, and Dino can attest to this, everyone who was there can attest to this, I stood up and I said, guys, I want to thank you and I want to wish you all the luck. I needed to leave. It was time for me to go. Thank you for everything. I love everybody and I'm wishing you luck. And then I took my torch and I went to Nico and I went, oh, wait, one more thing, because there was a standing joke with me, is that I cannot twerk to save my life. Marion tried to teach me, everyone tried to teach me, and I kept doing it, and they were all like, no, girl, you cannot twerk. So just before I said to Nico, wait, and Nico said, no, please don't, because he knew also what was coming. And I said, I gotta twerk, and all of them went, no, and then I did my weird twerk, and then they all laughed, and then he killed it, and I said, bye, and that's when they stood up and clapped. And I'm very sad that they didn't show that, because I think that shows a lot of growth from the way I left the first time, in Philippines. And I wish they had shown that, how I had changed and humbled and grown from one season to the other. And unfortunately, I don't know why they didn't show it in the edit, but it is what it is.
Yeah, from calling Werner a snake to twerking your way to the jury.
What a change. What a change.
So, to wrap up, we have some questions we like to ask. Who would be on your Survivor Hall of Fame? The parameters being one social player, one strategic player, one physical player, and an all-rounder that encompasses all three. It could be from South Africa or other versions of the show, whatever you want.
Strategic, Ferris.
Yes.
I love him. I love him so much.
Ferris is awesome.
Social. Yeah, he's so cool. Social, that's an interesting one. Gosh, I'm trying to think of South Africa, because I'd like to give South Africa the kudos that they deserve, So, but they are Steffi. Steffi she is super social. Like she really gets into a person's heart. So I'm going to give Steffi that one. And then what was the other one? Physical.
Physical and then an all-rounder.
Oh, so physical, I'm just going to go anyway for our little challenge winner. I'll go for Rob. And I'm really hoping that Rob did well internationally.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then all-rounder. Actually, no. I'm going to put Rob at an all-rounder, because that guy, 100%, that's an all-rounder right there. The physical, the social, the strategy. Yeah, Rob's got my vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he dominated that season.
Yeah, he's a really good player.
Totally. But you know what? There is a thing called the halo effect. I don't know if you know about the halo effect.
No.
where people tend to, it's a psychological thing, where people tend to let good-looking people get away with more than they would an ugly person. And if you think about
I
some of
know
the
that,
things
yeah.
that
Yeah,
Rob
same.
did and said, yeah, if an ugly fat person, let's say, like some really gross-looking person, behaved the way Rob did at times, they wouldn't have gotten away with it. But it's because he's got these eyes and the body and stuff again. I think he got away with it, but more than people would have. Even the Golden God, if you think about
Yeah.
him and you think
Yeah.
about all of those kind of players, they get away with a little bit more because they're ultimately good looking.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
It is what it is.
And then my final two questions are going to be this. If you could pick 1 to 3 words to describe your Survivor legacy, what would those 1 to 3 words be?
Spicy. Um, sure. You know, I work with words all day long because I'm a writer, and now I can't even think of 3. So I'd say spicy, engaging, because I think even like post Survivor, I have remained very engaged
Mhm.
with the game and with the people who've watched it, etc. So spicy, engaging, and metamorphoses.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So even because I think I metamorphosized
Mhm.
from my first season to my next season. Even now, like gosh, I wish I could play again now because now I feel like I'm even like different again.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting when like you go through so many like life experiences like different to when you played the last time and you're like, I would love to do this at where I'm at now for sure.
The state of mind, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, and I mean, even if I look at my first season, so I had a few months before I played, I had found out that I was infertile and I couldn't have children. And my husband and I had been trying to have kids. And in my head, I just got so in my head because I was convinced if I win that million, we can go for IVF and I can afford to get infertility treatments. And so my brain was just so focused on winning this money, and I forgot to really just enjoy myself. And like if I look back to where we were, the scenery, the people were amazing. Like I loved the cast; they were so good and they were so lovely, and everybody just genuinely wanted to get to know each other. We were all just treading water together. It was a different kind of dynamic. And I wish I'd been a bit more appreciative back then instead of so in my head about wanting the win and the money for infertility treatment. I'm divorced now. So, I mean, imagine like we didn't need the baby. So like, yeah, I just look back now and I just wish I had just been a little bit more appreciative and grateful in that season than I actually was.
And then my final question is when you close your eyes and you think back to your time on Survivor, what image do you see?
Oh, you know what? It's the funniest thing, but the one of not necessarily an image, but it's a memory that always comes up. It's with PK. PK, myself, Tevin, and Josie. So we saw this beautiful on Josie's birthday. There was this massive moon eclipse. And I will never forget us sitting on this island and this moon was ginormous. It was like almost daytime still. And we watched this moon and we were all going, we were like howling to the moon. And then we didn't make a fire because the moon was so bright. But then the eclipse started happening, and we were like, "Wow, this is amazing!" And then the eclipse happened, and we could see nothing, not even our hands in front of our faces, and we were all just falling over each other to get to bed. So yeah, I think one of the when I sit back and just think of Survivor, I see this moon, and it's just was such an amazing experience. And I'll tell you another quick story about them. PK would like do the most random things in his sleep. So one day we were all sleeping together and myself and Josie want to wake up. Sorry, my boyfriend's making noise here. So myself and Josie, we wake up and we want to go for a walk, but I had the pillow. So PK's lying on his stomach, like this. So I lift up his hand. I said, "Pillow, PK, here's a pillow." And he goes, and he tries to bite the pillow. What are you doing? And I said, "What?" And he sort of wakes up and goes, "Oh, I was dreaming my mom was feeding me a loaf of bread." Talk about the pillow. He's just like, So, I mean, beautiful memories, absolutely amazing memories.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my last question for you is if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
So, Facebook, Antoinette Naomi Tebbutt. Instagram is Tony's Lens. And then on Twitter, I'm Toni in Tonton. And that is actually a nickname I got in my second season. In Tonton in South Africa, it means like a thingy majig. Like it's a thingy. What's that thingy? And Steffi and Felix kept calling me Tonton. And so I'm now Toni in Tonton. That's my nickname on Twitter.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Toni, for being on this podcast. It was just great to talk about South Africa, Philippines, and Return of the Outcasts with you.
No, it's awesome to have a chat, and just you've actually just made me want to go watch that season again now. It's yeah, because it was a great season. It really was.
Yeah.
So thank you for reinvigorating me back into it. Now I'm going to go watch it again.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely,
pleasure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to go rewatch it myself because I watched it around when it came out, and I need to definitely watch Return of the Outcasts again. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And are you guys enjoying the new US season?
Yeah, I actually really like
yeah.
in 47.
Yeah,
Really
I'm
solid.
also really enjoying it. It's been a little bit of a hit and miss the last few seasons for me, but this one I'm totally enjoying.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm more of an Australia guy right now, but this season of the US is the best in a while, I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we will see you all next time on The Tribe of Nerds.